Hello, thanks for joining us. Today we are answering questions from our AMA. The first question comes from Nat WU. The question is, when is Canada eCoin going to go mainstream? Such as being used in stores, restaurants, and online purchases. I have a few coins and would love to use them someday instead of just sitting in my wallet waiting to be used on exchanges. Now, this is a good question. In fact, in order for Canada eCoin to go mainstream, cryptocurrency in general has to go mainstream. As far as using your Canada eCoins in stores, restaurants, and for online purchases, this actually could be done right now. We have a few merchants already who take not just Canada eCoin, but some other cryptocurrencies. As a group, we are working on some other forms of redeeming your coins for products or services. But the reality of it is, if you don't necessarily know how to keep track of your spending and your gains and your losses, and you don't know how to declare that, and you don't know how to report that, then that's a big problem. Now, on top of that, if you're a website owner, it might be difficult for you to figure out how to incorporate cryptocurrencies onto your website. So the tools that the merchants have are quite honestly limited. Now, I would love to be able to go online and purchase Amazon products and gift cards and all this stuff, which we can already do. It's a little bit more difficult than it should be at this time. But the big one is stores and restaurants. In order for a store or restaurant to be able to accept your cryptocurrency as payment, they need to be able to turn around almost instantly and get their cash. Now, there's opportunity here to create what we see as solutions. And that's what we're working on as far as the Canada eCoin team goes. There's Bitcoin tools that work just as great with Canada eCoin as they do with Bitcoin. But the in-store, in-restaurant purchases is where we need to focus more. And a lot of that has to deal with the technology that the store and restaurant uses to accept payments and maintain their ledger. One thing that we really need before stores and restaurants start taking crypto is a liquid provider built in to the software. And what this means is, if I'm a restaurant and you're a crypto user, I should be able to accept the crypto in my software, and that should immediately go to you as a liquid provider. And in lieu of that, you as a liquid provider should owe me whatever the sale price was. Now, what that would mean for a store owner is the cash register itself could take care of the books, and at the end of the day, they can close out the register and they can count the cash and they can get a balance sheet and everything will work out perfectly. Because ultimately, if we want crypto to be in store, then cash and credit cards aren't the only things being used. So in reality, if we want to be in the stores and the restaurants, then we really need to have a full-on upgrade to the cash register and the way the cash register maintains transactions. Now, another thing is, then where does the till get a wallet address from? Not only do you need cash registers, but you need some sort of service running that can feed these cash registers addresses. And the private keys to those addresses are only in the hands of the administration. So to answer your question, Nate, when is Canada eCoin going to go mainstream? The real question is, when is cryptocurrency going to go mainstream? And the answer is when it becomes easy enough for the average person to use it without having to know the ins and outs of the technology itself. I hope that answers your question. It's not an easy question to answer. What I believe, though, is over time, as we work towards having cryptocurrencies used in stores and restaurants, that we'll get closer and closer to being mainstream. So our next question comes from As the Nownie 95. The question is, how can an eCoin create happy days? This is kind of a general question. Ultimately, it kind of boils back down to the first question from Nate WU, where if we're successful in bringing tools to Canadians that allow them to use cryptocurrency and help them thrive in the field of finance, then their days will be happy. I mean, happy days. So this question comes from, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce that, Pate Lyncho. The question is, how is Canada eCoin going to change the life of the common Canadian? So this is actually a good question. This is at the root of our vision, our mission. Essentially, cryptocurrencies themselves are the people's currency. They're created by the people. They're maintained by the people. There is no central authority profiting from people using them. The real question is, how is cryptocurrency going to change the life of the common Canadian? Is cryptocurrency in general ever going to have the opportunity to fulfill its mission or goal? If cryptocurrencies become mainstream in Canada, then we will have a store of value that is not pinned to a service debt. But ideally, the Canada eCoin community is going to hopefully be a source of education, tools, and insight on how the common Canadian can use cryptocurrency in their own life. If the cryptocurrencies get rejected in this country, then it's not going to change the life of any Canadian. Where if cryptocurrencies can be embraced by our people and our regulators and our government, then it can go a long way in helping the Canadian population free themselves of the interest-bearing debt. In the case of cryptocurrency, there is no control. There's no central figure that can manipulate the money, the value, and more importantly, there is not a central figure that can just keep printing more. Canada eCoin and a lot of the cryptocurrencies have a limited supply, which means, for example, there will never be more than 100 million Canada eCoins. So you can bank on your coin being worth the same fraction of the pool. The rules in play for creating a money, they don't benefit the common Canadian. They benefit the 1%. They benefit a handful of people, which is why using cryptocurrency is a good idea, or at least a step forward in the way we deal with finances, or in the way we deal with the reserve of money or the store of value. So if we are successful and we're able to create an environment in Canada where people can freely use cryptocurrencies, Canada eCoin included, then it'll change the life of the common Canadian by allowing them to become a little more independent. This question comes from a team member named Brett. He goes on to say, let's say I'm an elderly Canadian, 55 plus, who just heard about Canada eCoin crypto for the first time. Why would I use Canada eCoin or any cryptocurrency for that matter over my country's fiat currency? A couple points is I'm not technical enough to know about or even care about security or any of that jargon. My bank handles that for me. I'm not interested in finding the next investment vehicle. My broker handles that for me. I'm not looking to join community of techies. I can't stand kids these days. I can't find any friends who have any crypto, so why should I? And Brett goes on to say, I feel that this age is the most resistant to change, yet they're an ever-growing demographic. If we can sway them to join the revolution, the sky is the limit. I mean, this is really a hard question because the question very explicitly says, how can we get elderly people to join on the crypto revolution? And in my point of view, I don't think we can. I talk to people about crypto all the time. It's a daily thing for me. I'm absolutely obsessed, have been for years. And a lot of the times when I talk to the elderly Canadian who's over 55, he or she has already sort of gone through life. They're ramping down. They're not looking to change anything. In fact, they've spent 55 years doing something a certain way. So to tell them that that way is wrong is just offensive. So according to Wikipedia, wiki/demographics of Canada, and I'm looking at age characteristics. There's about 33.5 million people who live in Canada, which is a pretty small population in comparison to a lot of other countries out there. But there's roughly, from the age of 40 to 59, there's about 10 million people. Now, that's about just under a third of our population. So, that's a lot of people. But in reality is the effort it takes to teach these people, it's just too much. Considering to teach a kid who's 5 or 10 or 15 up to 20 to 25, to me, that's our target audience, is anybody who's young enough to not sort of have all this life experience. Does that mean I give up on the 55-year-olds? Not at all. The big trick would be, how can we make it useful for them? Now, saying that, it is our obligation to make sure that the tools that we bring out are usable by grandma and easy to use. I can't really speak for that age demographic. I mean, I'm 39 this year. I'll be 40 this summer. So even I'm old. I mean, compared to a lot of the people I come across in the cryptocurrency field. And quite honestly, we're limited on our resources. We only have so many hours in a day. We only have so much energy in a day. So quite honestly, we're obligated to go for the low-hanging fruit. And until there's a lot of people like me who know how to use it, why you would use it, the important things to know about it while you're trying to use it, then a lot of the people who aren't so tech savvy will have just such a hard time trying to use it. So, and again, I'm not saying forget about the old folks, but I am saying that with the time and energy that we have, we really need to focus on the easy win and sort of come to the harder demographics over time when we have more tools, more services, more abilities. Cryptocurrency right now is too young to be going to grandma and grandpa. Cryptocurrency in general is not built out wide enough and far enough to be able to say to grandma, look at what you can do. Because really, grandma really couldn't do anything with crypto right now as it sits. But it is our job to look at grandma and to see what she struggles with and to put stuff in place, crypto or not, to make grandma's life easier. If cryptocurrency is one of those tools, then great. But, it's a good question. But ultimately, I think that our focus should be on the low-hanging fruit. And we really ought to be building tools that grandma can use if she wanted to. But ultimately, anybody could be able to use. The eCoin community has a couple hundred people in it. There's only, 10 or 20 or less people who are developing new stuff, who are thinking of the future, who are bringing things forward to help use crypto in stores and restaurants and online stores and this and that. There's hundreds of people building out crypto technology on the daily basis. But they're not necessarily focused in Canada, right? As a community group, we're focused in Canada for Canadians. And we're looking hard at the usability of Canada eCoin in all of the different places that you can think of, whether that's online, whether that's in store, or whatever it is. Anyway, Brett, I really hope I answered your question. I know a few elderly people who do use crypto, but their backgrounds are such that they're, for example, there's one guy, he's a professor. He knows a lot about finance. He knows a lot about red tape. He's into that sort of field already. So cryptocurrency became sort of a natural thing for him to look at because he was already eyeball deep in that world. Anyway, those were the 4 questions on our Reddit. I mean, I was hoping there'd be more questions there, but whatever. At this point, I just want to say thanks for tuning in. We're going to be posting some frequently asked questions and answers. We're going to do a couple, hopefully once a week or something like that. We're going to post them right here on YouTube. We're also going to post text versions on our website, so stay tuned for that. I'll do another AMA. Leave your questions in the comments below, and I will answer them in the next AMA. So subscribe if you feel like it, and I look forward to talking to you some more and teaching you a little bit about crypto. And I definitely look forward to hearing some feedback about what you want to see in this space. Whether or not you're Canadian, I want to know. So thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. I appreciate all the support that we've been getting. Peace and love. Peace and love.